everybody, and welcome back to week 6 of the NFL season. Today we're going to be going over the top stacks of the week. Specifically, this is for like GPPs. This isn't like a cash game video. So really, we're just going to be going over my favorite stacks, quarterback with multiple pass catchers. I know a lot of you probably stack already, just like a quarterback and maybe like a receiver, but the field isn't double stacking enough, which is where you can find most of your leverage in these large field tournaments. So you need to have like a quarterback. If they're mobile, sometimes you can get away with only having one pass catcher, like a Jalen Hurts with like Devonta Smith or something like that. But these quarterbacks that don't really run that much, you almost always want to just stack them with 2 pass catchers to really reach a ceiling. The field just isn't doing it enough. Maybe like 20-25% of the field is double stacking. And these top 100 lineups, they're doing it at like a 40% rate. So there's tons of leverage to be had by double stacking and picking these right games. If you can just pick that shootout that scores way more points than all the other games, you could be in a really, really good spot. So like this week, there's only like 3 stacks that I really like, and all of my lineups are going to be revolved around these 3 stacks, and I'll say what the quarterbacks are right now. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's Taylor Heineke, as long as Terry McLaurin plays, and then Carson Wentz. So basically all of my quarterbacks, I'm going to be stacking those quarterbacks with their pass catchers, and then I'm going to be also bringing it back with someone from the other side of the game. I think one of the biggest mistakes people are making is they're not using at least one bring back in their lineup, and I think that's a big mistake, as the games that shoot out, like we saw the Chargers-Browns game shoot out this past week. Like if you were just to stack Herbert with like Mike Williams and Eckler, that's great and all, but you could have ran that back with a Nick Chubb or a Kareem Hunt, and then you really are capturing all of that game's upside. So it's just you want to correlate your lineups as much as possible. So I'll start getting into like my stacks right here. So my first one is Patrick Mahomes at the top. They're going against Washington. Washington it's weird to say because going into the year everyone thought they were going to be good, but their D-line is still pretty solid, but their secondary is so bad. I mean, Mahomes should have a field day against the secondary. Tyreek is looking like he's going to play. He had some type of injury he was dealing with, but I mean, I'm going to have so much Tyreek and so much Kelsey. Mahomes is a quarterback that I'm going to want to double stack in every line that I make. So whether it be Patrick Mahomes, well, I'll just plug in like all the players that I'm going to have double stacked up in this game, and I'll have like every variation of these players. So it'll be Tyreek, Hardman, and then finally Kelsey. So I'm going to have basically Patrick Mahomes, Darrell Williams, and Tyreek, and then I'll run that back with like Terry McLaurin, or I'll have Mahomes, Darrell Williams, Hardman, run that back with Ricky Seals-Jones. Like I'm going to be getting every variation I can possible with this game, and then fill in the rest with like the more optimal plays. Like I don't know, Darrell Henderson's a good play. Kareem Hunt with Nick Chubb out, it's going to be a really good play. And also by double stacking, you're only having to fill out a few more slots. So like for example, if I stack Mahomes with Tyreek and let's say Darrell Williams in this one, maybe Darrell Williams catches a touchdown. So by doing this and then you bring it back, let's say in this bring back I'm doing McLaurin, you already have 4 of your slots filled out, and then you just have to fill in the remainder. So you already get like half of your lineup just from this game. And that's really what you're trying to do when you're stacking, is because instead of having to pick like the one player that goes off in every single game, like the odds of that happening are so low. But if you can just find that one game that shoots out, you're capturing so many of the points, and then you only have to nail maybe 5 of the rest of the plays. It just increases your chances of finishing in the top 100 or top 10 if you pick the right game. So I'm going to be stacking this game in every which way. And then I always, like in the previous video I made, the top 10 plays under 5%. Usually I'd rotate all of those players in with like these stacks. So like, for example, I don't know, I had like Nelson Aguilar or something in my top 10 under 5%. So like, then I throw like a low owned play in here, and then I fill out some of the more optimal ones. So that's my first stack, and I like it coming back. Like, that's why I said my second favorite, it's a Taylor Heineke. So when I play Heineke is not one that I will require 2 pass catchers to be in there, because Heineke runs the ball quite a bit and can score a rushing touchdown, in which you don't want tons of his pass catchers because that takes away from them. So like Heineke, I'm probably going to want to play McLaurin in most of them, because he gets so much of the volume and the target share. Like if Heineke has a ceiling game, McLaurin is probably having a ceiling game as well. So I'm going to want to stack Heineke with McLaurin whenever I can. And then, of course, I'm going to bring it back with a Chief, because I think the Chiefs steamroll this team, and I think it's just could be a really high-scoring game, and Heineke just throwing the ball all game, having to play catch-up. But I still like, because Ricky Seals-Jones is super cheap, he's going to be really popular, but you know, getting him in this stack, so you get like McLaurin, Ricky Seals-Jones, Tyreek or Hardman, and then or Darrell Williams, and then you fill in the rest with like like for example, I said in my last one, like Mike Williams is the wide receiver 1 on the entire year, and he's going to be sub 5% owned again. I think a great way to always start your lineup, especially in these tournaments, is you stack your quarterback, run it back with someone from the other team, get a low owned play, and then fill in with the best plays. That's how I usually build my lineups. Probably I'll be making 150 lineups, and I'd say probably 100 of the lineups will be stacking that game from both sides. And then the last quarterback that I like is Carson Wentz. He's 5,400. Like, we just saw him finally step up against the Ravens, even though they lost, but he actually looked decent. And now he gets to play a Texans team that's is terrible. I just think it's a good cheap stack. So you can get Wentz, and then you stack him. He's one that I want 2 pass catchers, because he doesn't really rush for touchdowns. He's not really a mobile quarterback. So I like stacking him with like Pittman and Zach Pascal. And Zach Pascal is already going to be sub 5% owned. So you get your low owned play within the stack already. Pittman will be a little higher owned, because people are finally seeing how much volume he's getting. He's getting like 10 plus targets a game. He finally got in the end zone against the Ravens. So he won't be that low owned, but Pascal will, and Wentz should be pretty low owned. So you get like a low owned stack in here, and then you run it back. The only run back I like in this game is going to be Brandon Cooks. So every Wentz team I have is going to have Brandon Cooks coming back. Brandon Cooks is like my favorite mid-tier receiver play probably. He's going to get a lot of volume. The Colts secondary is not good at all. Davis Mills is looking Brandon Cooks' way. Like, I don't know, Brandon Cooks has one of the highest target shares in the league right now, and he's seen 2 good corners and 2 good defenses, I believe, his last 2 weeks. And no, I don't think he'll be super popular this week, and I want to have quite a bit of exposure to him. So, like, here you go. You have 4 players already taking up this lineup, and then you already have your low owned play in here. So then you can kind of go with some of the chalkier running backs in this lineup, like Henderson, who I like a lot, Kareem Hunt, who's going to be extremely popular. With almost all the Carson Wentz stacks, I'm going to be playing like both Pittman and Pascal. I don't like stacking Wentz with Taylor as much. I know Taylor caught a long touchdown this past week, but he's just not getting a whole lot of target share right now. That's more like Nyheim Hines, and now even Marlon Mack's getting involved. So I like playing Jonathan Taylor in the lineups that I don't have Wentz. I'm not sure if T.Y. Hilton is returning. If he is, even if he returns, I probably won't play much of him. I just think he's super injury prone and he's just too old now. I know he torches the Texans like every year, but watch, I'll have like 50 Carson Wentz lineups and no type T.Y. Hilton, and T.Y. Hilton will go for like 102. But I'll take my chances with fading Hilton. So that's kind of, and then I want to go back to the Mahomes stack real quick. So when I'm playing Mahomes in smaller field tournaments, you can do like the double stack with Tyreek and Kelsey. But in large field tournaments, I would avoid that just because you limit your ceiling so much by just like that only leaves you 4,300 for the remaining players. Again, in small field tournaments, like maybe it's like a 2,000 person tournament and you don't need like a crazy ceiling to come in first place, then yeah, playing Mahomes, Tyreek, and Kelsey is fine. But when you're trying to beat out like hundreds of thousands of people, you limit your upside too much by playing both Tyreek and Kelsey. It's just very hard for both of them to hit like 35 or 40 fantasy points in the same game. Usually it's just one of those two that hits that. So, I mean, this week, I mean, they did price Kelsey down quite a bit. Usually he's been over 8,000, but it's just Washington. Like, I mean, Marquez Callaway and Deontay Harris just, we're going crazy on them. Like every week it's receivers just having field days against the secondary. And I mean, Tyreek is so fast. I just think he has a great game. So I do prefer Tyreek to Kelsey, but I'll still have plenty of both. And the only run backs, like the Washington players that I like Antonio Gibson. It's Antonio Gibson, McLaurin, and Ricky Seals-Jones. So it's very condensed. Those are the only three players that I really want from the Washington side. And then on the Chiefs side, it's also very condensed. It's Darrell Williams, Tyreek, Hardman, and Kelsey. Like, I think it's just a very easy game to hit from all different angles and get a bunch of different stacks with different variations from that game. Other stacks that I'm fading that I think will be popular are like Lamar Jackson stacks. I just think this Chargers defense their run defense is terrible, but their pass defense is very, very good. They force you to run the ball. Their run funnel defense. And Lamar Jackson, I think, is going to be the most popular quarterback this week. People will be stacking him with Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and I think this is just an excellent week to fade Lamar. I did have more interest in Kyler Murray stacks at the beginning of the week, but with the shoulder issue that I'm reading more about, I don't have as much interest. It's just that bothered him last year, and we saw his production decline, so I think I'm going to avoid that this week. And then I don't really have any interest in stacking any of these like mid-tier quarterbacks. The only other one that I'm going to have just a tiny bit of is Justin Fields. And this is a quarterback that I'm only single stacking. I'm not going to double stack because his pass volume hasn't been there. And now with David Montgomery out, Damian Williams now rolled out, I do think this game plan, they're going to have Fields run the ball more. I want to stack him with just one receiver, and I want to have the most of Allen Robinson. I know Mooney has been looking really good with Fields, but Allen Robinson is only 5,300 now. I mean, his talent, he's such a good player, and there's no Jari Alexander. The Packers secondary is beat up. They're at home. I like doing this low-owned Fields to Robinson stack, and then of course in every single one of those stacks I'm running it back with Devontae Adams. If this game somehow turns into a shootout, if Robinson is having a really good game and Fields, like Adams is also should be going off. I mean, he has a 40% target share with Rodgers. So I like this for like a really cheap, low-owned stack. I don't think you should be playing Fields with multiple pass catchers. I think you should limit it to just Mooney or Robinson. So that about wraps it up for this week's top stacks. Play a ton of Mahomes, play some Heineke if McLaurin's in, and play a little bit of Wentz and Fields. I think that's where I'm going to be this week. I think Lamar and Herbert are the ones to fade this week, but we'll see. We'll see on Sunday. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment your favorite stack this week, and please subscribe. And I will see you on Monday for the Monday Night Football Showdown slate. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you Monday.